And we are live again. Welcome back to the Chris Conley, Mr. C Dives In channel. We're here with another Svenology, another Svenologist. Let me tell you, it was Fanboy Cantina. Fanboy G had put me on the Reddits. And I wasn't on Reddit too long, and I saw something that was pretty amazing to me that was a Hero Forge creation. I didn't know a thing about Hero Forge, and I reached out pretty quickly to David, to Winthin right here. David, welcome. Welcome to the channel. Welcome as a guest. Welcome as a Svenologist.
Thank you. I very much appreciate it. I've been following Sven for such a long time, and as one of the last few standing horror hosts, you know, his career is so impressive. You know, so my wife and I, like, she's a native, of Illinois. I'm a Navy brat. I grew up all over. Like I was telling you before, I'm a child of the cable era. I grew up with, the Up All Night and the Monster Vision. Um, and I didn't realize until I was looking at your video. I watched it, by the way, the anniversary video was beautiful. And I
Oh,
didn't
thanks
realize that,
very
like,
much.
I've been following Sven pretty much since he came back. I remember on the Co Zone. I've been following him as Sven. I've also followed the Three Stooges thing, which, by the way, I don't know if you know this. MeTV is one of the few stations in the country licensed to play Three Stooges shorts.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think only like two stations have that license, and MeTV has held on to it all this time, which is why they keep playing them because they have the license and no one else does.
I would have guessed a bunch of regional markets did, but maybe it might sounds like my
Well,
guess
I
would have
think
been
they
off.
did, but a lot of them lost it. So like, yeah, yeah.
All right, so let's dive further into your history with Sven. And before we make that dive, let's make a different dive. Let's take a look at your
Yeah.
Hero Forge creation here. So just before we went live, you were explaining a bit to me. You've been involved with Hero Forge for
Right.
about 2 years and developing a mastery of the technology there and trying to do some experimental things within the parameters of the said technology. So tell us how did it come in your head to connect Sven and Hero Forge?
Well, I'm a nerd. I'm an unapologetic nerd. I've been working with computers all my life. I've been working with nerdy stuff all my life. I am a gamer. I am a role player. I met my wife running a game. We honeymooned at Gen Con. We're also big movie buffs all our lives. We love the horror, the good, the bad, the really bad. you know,
Yeah.
um, Sven stands out. I've watched a lot of horror hosts. I remember Rhonda Shear and Gilbert Gottfried. Rest in peace. Friend of the show. I know. I've watched Monster Vision. I've watched Elvira. She keeps putting out episodes every so often. MS 3K, of course. Um, Sven. I didn't know I'd been watching him as long as I had. First off, like I started watching him in college, and I'm like, oh wait, that's when he came back. And I only discovered that thanks to your show. But he's different than a lot of others. A lot of the others like will put on this spooky vibe, and he kind of nudges it a bit more. He's a little bit more joking about it, and I love that about him. He knows all the gags, and it's not just that. He's a nerd. He geeks out about it. He knows the details. He tells you about the actors and what they've been in. He tells you like little details about the production that a movie buff like my wife and I adore. And because of that, like if there's anybody I'm going to make into a figure, it's going to be him. He's got this iconic look, and he's so much a part of the community. And my mother, grew up in she's from Illinois originally. She's gone unfortunately, but my mother grew up out here. That's why we wound up out here. I have family out here in Illinois. I'm like I said, I'm a Navy brat. I grew up in Hawaii and Connecticut and all over. But Sven is fun. I think that's why he endures. He doesn't. it's not just that he's sharing something that we all remember and love. He laughs at it with us, and I think he'd appreciate that.
I agree. Everything you're saying is spot on. He's got a depth of knowledge. He's got a well refined presentation style where he's bringing
Oh,
genuine
yes.
humor and genuine knowledge to what he's doing. And well, I can only say that's why it's fitting that he now has a nationwide
I'm
audience.
so happy for that too. When he went national, I was just so thrilled for him. I mean, that was just such a huge moment. I mean, now I'm an internet guy. Like I said, I've been on the internet literally since the bad old days of AOL. You know, and now when I talk about Sven to people, they knew who I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a lovely thing. And watching other people discover him. And I mentioned like I'm so glad that he got back his classics because I remember when he was doing Z movies, the low grade movies, the really bad stuff, and he had fun with it. But I think he likes the classics better. The kaiju movies, the atomic monster movies, the Hammer horror, which as I mentioned before is I feel like it's a spiritual successor to the Universal era. You know, he knows these. He loves them. He knows that era. I grew up on older movies with my father, with cable. And those of us who grew up with cable, in the early days of cable, it was all old stuff. It was all syndicated this and whatever, they could get on and, late night that and whatever the stations could get their hands on. And a lot of it was bad, but gloriously so.
yes, yes. And some people will use the term it's a good bad movie, or some people will
Yeah.
use the term it's
Yeah.
a bad good movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, there's different particulars in different formats for being able to appreciate. Uh,
Right. And you watch and like nowadays it's become a thing where like people do parody. You look at movies like The Lost Skeleton of Cadavra. Great movie if you've not seen it by the way. It's basically they made a bad movie on purpose. Like, they went all the way like there's these wonderful moments where like the characters are getting confused by the dialogue. It's meant to be an homage to that era, and people are doing that. Things like There's Nothing Out There. That's another one. It's basically kids run into a monster out at a cabin, and in this one of the characters is basically the heckler. You know how there's always a heckler that says like, "Don't back up to that window." Well, one of the characters is doing that, and there's a scene where like one of the characters escapes the monster by grabbing onto the boom mic and swinging away.
the boom mic, no less.
Yeah, but that stuff wouldn't exist without people like Sven who made these things popular late night.
Yeah.
People like Cassandra Peterson, Elvira, people like Rhonda Shear and Gilbert Gottfried who, you know, and it's not just that. It's like he knows all those other people and he reaches out to different groups. Like one of my favorite things is when he talks to celebrities, you know, he talks to wrestlers. Like, if I'm sure you've seen the Rowdy Roddy Piper interview.
Yes.
It's fun. And he knows how to get the most out of these people. He knows who they are, what they can do, and he gives them a chance to shine. And he talks to all these beloved figures from our past. And it's just,
In last night's episode, he had a repeat clip of when Jerry the King Lawler was at the
yeah,
We2 convention, and he got to speak with him there. And so, yeah, he's definitely well knowledgeable about the professional wrestling community.
I'd say he's I'd say he's a general entertainment guy. Chicago is a big wrestling city. I think so. I think he moves in the same circles. He moves in radio circles, he moves in TV circles, he moves in entertainment circles. And so these are all people that he is going to run into at cons, at events. And a lot of hosts, a lot of people, they could just like stick to what they do, but he makes the extra effort to like know them, reach out to them, and ask them the things that like we want to know. Kind of, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to admire that.
We do a lot of admiring of Sven around these parts,
Yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
I know I'd like to do a little more admiring of
Oh,
your creation also here. So this is the reverse side, so just people can see it's a 3D. It
right.
can be a 3D rendering. What's
So Hero Forge was originally designed to let you make minis for role-playing games. And they also, like, on the side had an option where you could do graphics, and that's blown up. Like that now this is two different types. They have like you can do 3Ds, you can do like ones where you can paint them yourself. I got one where it was already colored. You can do them in like metal. You can do them in this lovely acrylic, and you can see how the acrylic really has like these colors that like pop. Now that's not based on the graphic you showed me. That was before they recently released what we called Face Customizer that let me do the face better than in this version. This is an older one. I'm going to print out the newer version for him eventually, and I'm gonna try and make sure I get that to him. I can't show you these because I mailed them to him already.
So hopefully soon, we'll in the tradition of other artists that we've featured on this channel, having their work uh, presented on the show. Hopefully,
I hope so.
you're on the horizon of
Even if
coming up
e-
next.
even if he never does, though, I hope that he likes them because I see all the things that people make about him, and it shows that he's known,
Yeah,
he's appreciated.
appreciate it. Also appreciating Fanboy G for jumping into the comments and saying, "Sweet,
Oh, I can't
thanks for
see.
being
Hold on. I need to go to the comments. I'm in the private. Let me see.
okay."
Oh, there you go.
All
Nice.
right, and yeah, oh, we got Dave Terror Dave tuning in also. Dave agree, it's
How do you
amazing
do?
work. Thanks
I
for
saw
thanks for
you
being.
on the video. I saw him on the video. I
Yep,
loved
yeah,
it.
we had a two sessions where we broke down into
Oh,
4 parts, and
I have to show off. I had the glow in the dark. I have the glow in the dark shirt.
hey, let me pull the your creation out of the way, and let me zero in on you to highlight the glow in the dark shirt. So yeah, I've seen
It
it.
does glow in the dark.
Man, that's and the bow tie is your own addition.
So I'm a steampunk kind of guy. I make a lot of things I wear. This is a Blue Lantern thing. It's Blue Lanterns are the symbol of hope from the Green Lantern universe.
Of
So
course.
like give me 1 second. Boop and boop. Uh, Here we go. I'll send you an image and you'll see what I'm talking about. Let me pull up the Reddit so I can send it to you. So this here, that's how I normally. Well, is it sending?
Here,
Give me a second.
I'm checking. I'm just bringing it back
That's how I
to.
normally dress.
Okay.
I have
And
like
let me put you right up.
4 dozen vests and like 200 hats and like I do a lot of steampunk dressing up, going around. Like that's my so like this is a shirt and a bow tie I wear out and around on a regular basis.
Excellent. Most excellent. Oh, another comments come in. Let's see who's saying what. Fanboy
That is
says,
new.
yeah, so that's one of the new releases off of this. What I have a store, the Svengoolie store. There are two glow in the dark shirts, and then they
There
reissued
are.
the purple colored one, which would be the originator of that shirt
I don't
series.
think I can really show it, unfortunately, because I don't think I can get dark enough in here. Let me try. Give me 1 second. I'll be right
Sure
back.
enough, sure enough.
I'm gonna turn off the light
Let's
here. Turn off the
well,
light
let's
there.
go back to
Let
God
me
loves.
see if you can see
Yes,
me.
yes, it's many expressions of Sven, and while Win Thin is jumping
Yeah,
around, let me show
you can
some of
kind.
his
Oh, you
other.
can see it kind of.
Here, let me
I
come back. Let me come back, and
I
let
think
me
not as well because the screen is lighting up, but you can
go
see it
back.
kind of glowing. You can see
All
it kind
right,
of glowing. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
got some luminescence to it. It's got some luminescence to it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think the my computer screen is glowing a little bit, so it's like showing off, but like you can definitely see some of it. I'm gonna turn on the light back on here,
Right. Yeah.
and I had pictures somewhere of it, but I don't know where I put them. But like that they're not very good anyway because I only took them like right when I got it and it hadn't like fully absorbed the light yet. Ah, the chicken.
So you were just as we were talking a few minutes before we went live, and you were saying there was some, I don't want to say glitch, but there was saying some anomaly where you used the word familiar and you were able to go a little bit off book of what Hero Forge had typically
Right.
allowed.
So one of the things they do is they allow you to do different mounts and familiars, basically, creatures. So like, chicken, octopus, cat, fox, and this is actually technically an exploit. I didn't do it. So somebody went in and messed with their program and made a bunch of like, glitches. They're effectively glitches, but somebody made them who wasn't supposed to. And some of us like got a hold of the links and messed with them. And the official standing for them is like, so long as you can use them if you want, but please don't make like don't mess with the program and make new ones. And if you use them, you're using them at your own risk because they can be unstable. But that right there, the thing is, while I made that using a glitch effectively, eventually that's something that you're going to be able to do on your own. Like they're going to get to the point where you could do that, and um, the thing I like about it is now that takes no glitches. But here's the other thing about that. You see how it dips in the middle?
Yes.
It doesn't. That is flat. That is entirely made using their decal system and shading. There's no actual crater there. That's entirely shading.
Again, I have no choice but to take your word for it. Not that you uh, be disingenuous about it, but it really does look like it's a three. So it's well rendered what it's trying to do.
Oh
Very
yeah.
cool. Very impressive.
And that shows you like the degree that you can do that. Like this right here makes use of like only recently they released like some of these decals on there, and I make the colors. One of the things I do is I make colors for it and I share them with people, and so like that uses a lot of the colors from Japanese culture. I don't know if you know this, but a lot of cultures have their own color catalogs. There's a French one, a Spanish one. Um, Japan, there's like these set colors, these traditional colors. And so, like, I've gone in and recreated them so people can use them. It There's a lot of history to color. Like, I don't know if you knew this, but for instance, did you know that a dye, drove the golden age of piracy?
Would that be the color purple?
Yes. Purple, blue, and black. Actually, there's a tree called the logwood, American logwood, found in Central America. And what happened was Spain claimed the land, so the Netherlands and France and Britain would send people in and sneak in and set up logging camps to send it back to make these dyes, and then Spain, in retaliation for raids from their privateers, would raid these logging camps and like lock up their people. And when the people got out, they're like, "Well, we don't have a job," so they joined up with pirates, and then the pirates would started like raiding the ships and the logging camps themselves. So like this dye, this color directly create contributed to the golden age of piracy as people were like raiding for it. And we think of like gold or silver, but color, color itself is often a motivating factor. Another fun one, and this might actually come up on Sven if he ever does it. You know how like Robin Hood and his merry men wore green, right?
Oh yeah.
Do you know why?
To blend into the forest.
That's what you would think, but no. Real green was really hard to make in that era, like green that stayed. You had to most people did it by first using yellow, usually weld, then blue, usually woad. So because you had to do two different dyes, if either of them went wrong, it would ruin it. The specific green that Robin Hood wears is called Lincoln green from the town of Lincoln. It's expensive to make. Therefore, when he and his men are wearing Lincoln green, they're saying, "Hey, we're wearing your money. Look
Wow.
at what we're doing. We're wearing your money." it was showing off.
Man, that's talk about depth of knowledge. So, I thought I was going to learn about Hero Forge here, but I need multiple notebooks to take notes. I want to take a quick second. That Jim Campbell is out in the field right now, and Jim's sending me
Oh,
the hammer Frankenstein. If Jim, we're live on YouTube right now. Jim, if you feel free to jump in the comments, but not surprised that Jim's sending me the horror hammer Miko character while we're
I
having our
love
conversation.
the hammer. That's another that is it's kind of a trick. It's not a glitch, but there's actually two figures merged with one of them holding a shield. And there's like, you know what? Let me open it actually. Can I do that? I'll show you from the side and you'll see. Give me 1 second. I have to find out where folder I put that in because I have so many things. One of the downsides is like you make a lot of stuff. Um,
Yes, and then managing all the stuff turns into a thing, absolutely.
it does. It does.
Well, while you're looking, I'll continue through your other images. There's also the crystals. There's also this guy with a different kind of an axe, if you will. The characters can also be given guitars. And in fact, go ahead and take your time while you're searching. I'm going to go ahead and jump to the share screen so we can look at the actual Hero Forge link that you had sent. And here that comes right now. Maybe I should start at the top. Uh, okay, so new releases from Hero Forge. So as we can see, this is just within the last couple of days here. And again, looking at the colors available, the different configurations of from boots to eyewear to hats to things that can be held to special energy effects to shapes to you got a bit of a Medusa coil going there. I mean, this is all new to me, and as someone who's peripherally aware of RPG figures and the D&D world, this is all very,
There's a-
very impressive. And again, we've talked about scaling for things. So sometimes it's easier in a way to get something on a larger scale, just you have more room and more space to put a thing together. But right here, the smaller scale and to still retain this degree of detail, this is
It's
this is
amazing
just
what you
wow.
can do with this. Yeah. Just playing with things.
Oh, we have a couple of more
Really.
comments since I
Ah,
was
I found it.
go right
I
ahead.
found I found it. Let me open that up.
Cyclops image in the way. Thanks. All right, so
Give me a
let me
second. So I'm going to show you the side view. I'm just going to screenshot it and send you a picture, and then I'm going to do something real quick, and I'm going to show you. Love, could you get that, please? I think we have a delivery, which I didn't think we are supposed to have any today, but maybe somebody's doing something else,
you never know.
or somebody's trying to get into the building. Yeah, that's possible too. So there you are. So I'm going to send you two images real quickly, if it will cooperate. You can see how this works. So like, are they sending? They are sending. So take a look at that. You can see how basically it's two figures put side by side, and the sun is actually just a shield held by a tail behind it.
Oh, that's great. That's like a behind the scenes. So I'm going to switch spots with you there so I can zero in on myself so I can show just
And that
what you sent.
right. And that's the neat thing about this is that if you're doing just graphics, you can do a lot more because perspective has tricks. I sent you another one. I know I sent you another one with the Cyclops.
Yes. Oh, okay. Let me go back up for that one. That was here we go. Let me bring that larger. And then let me again jump over here and jump over here. And let me get a good close up view
Oh no,
on that. So
that's not Cyclops. That is a beholder. That is a classic D&D monster, basically made, but that's again made through trickery. There's a glitch where you can basically take the legs off of something, and there's another one where you can make things like float. So that's all trickery and lighting and shading and playing with it. No, the other one I sent it to you was the first image I sent to you, I think.
Oh,
Um, where is it? It's the Cyclops in front of the planets.
oh, okay. I'm sorry. Here, let me check. Is it here? We're
That
looking.
one. Yep. Go back.
Oh, right
Oh,
there.
you
Okay.
there. So like that right there, that uses the same principle. The sun is like the head of a mace being held back so you can't see it. Every one of those, every piece of that is something that is, floated or used as a trick. And you can make things. And like I'm a gamer, so a lot of gaming's gone online, especially since the pandemic. So people will make tokens. People will use, and it's becoming a big industry too. Like I don't know if you've seen these. There are now these virtual tabletops that people play on, and this is a multi-million-dollar industry, and people make tokens for the things. And so with this, you can make your characters. You can pretty much make just about anything at this point. um, my thing is colors and figuring out weird stuff. But like, there are people who can make robots who've made like the Predator, the Alien, King Kong on a tower. I'm not kidding. Like if you look on Reddit and like just do a search, Hero Forge, you will see crazy stuff. That right there, that's actually basic right
So
there.
again, going into the more of the details on the piece. So, uh, as I'm a big fan of Tombstone, I like the
Yeah.
Tombstone is represented right down there at the feet. I
I
was
thought about making him float, but I wanted to make it so that something I could send to him. And if I made it float, it wouldn't print.
right, and now
Yeah.
the shield I have to figure was more conventional. But now the chicken. So was that again through a glitch or an anomaly in
No,
the system,
they
or
have a rubber chicken. They have a rubber chicken. Now, the symbol on the shield, I actually had to get creative with. They have a thing that lets you project images, and so I had to combine like four different images to get the symbol, because that's not a symbol they have available. So like that's actually like an eagle underneath this, and with one symbol across it, and like there's two different symbols to like make the thing. You know.
and now in this
Um,
shot we can see that right traditionally Sven, uh, it's a purplish or darkish kind of a diamond around his neck. Was that one of the standard
that's
options
a
or
standard. Yeah.
yeah,
That's a standard. They don't have anything quite like his necklace yet. That doesn't mean that there aren't ways to make one though, and I haven't decided to figure that out yet, but I'm working on it. That's one of those things that like I want to kind of try and figure out. But yeah, there's limits too because you can only put two figures and like two figures, a familiar, and a mount on a platform right now. So depending, there's only so much I can do with that. Now, I think I could probably figure out a way to make his necklace at this point using a glitch.
wow. Again, that's I'd be at like the not even the 101 level. I'd be like at the 99 level here, but you're clearly on the advanced
Well,
level of
like I
this
said,
kind of
I've been working on this for 2 years, and I've watched them as they've grown as a company. And the thing I like about this, I was telling you earlier, um, I have aphantasia, which for your audience means that if you can close your eyes and see something in your head, good for you. I can't do that. About 1% of people have aphantasia; they can't see anything. About 26% of those also have it to other senses. I don't hear things. I don't smell things. There are advantages. I can't be earwormed.
that's great.
We are less susceptible to trauma because we don't replay things in our head. Apparently, it's helped with my health because you know how when they show a commercial, you're supposed to apparently like taste that in your head and smell it, and I don't. so I don't get cravings like people do.
Advertising
That
community, that's got to have some advantages, no question.
it
Well, and I
does
get
if it does,
I
you know.
appreciate both that you're walking us through Hero Forge, and I appreciate that you're being a vulnerable person and explaining your neurological circumstance, which is, all the more impressive of how you're assembling the Hero Forge
I'm also
materials. I
color
did want to take another swipe now since I
Oh,
had left the Cyclops in the way earlier. So now let's go back to sharing the screen, and this time without the Cyclops and without any of the pictures in the way. So let's go back up to the
ah,
top
so
here.
this is their release schedule. They do a new release every Tuesday, plus they sometimes have other surprise ones. So like this past Tuesday, they released a Sky Captain uniform. And those are all different parts that you can put on your person and mix and match and play with. Recently, they did a big surprise and they released all these decals. So these are color zones you can put onto figures to basically advance their color. And I showed you how like I use some of those to make, that big magma giant. And like the past one we got lion people. That was last Tuesday's. And the neat thing about this is they are constantly advancing this. Yeah, superheroes was 9.5, by the way.
There you go, Tavern Inn.
uh,
Wow.
so
So
that
just
right there, what that is, that's a pack of figures, of virtual figures that you can use for like, like I said, virtual tabletops. So they've realized that there's money to be made, not just for printing stuff, but for people who want to do graphics, for people who want to play online. And more people are doing that now. Like I said, since the pandemic, a lot of us have moved online for stuff. My gaming group, that's been running for over 20 years now, moved online after the pandemic. It's harder for us to get together. We're older. We have members that are farther out, so like it's a long drive to get here because we're in the Chicagoland area. Where I'm out in DeKalb, North Central Illinois, but like we have members that are much closer to Chicago now. Everything's going online, and yet it keeps us connected, you know,
I want to
which
say
I
hi to
like.
Michaela. Michaela, thanks for jumping in. You were watching last night. You're watching again tonight. We will, Michaela, find a way to.
What did you think of his guest of Gwengoolie?
It was very interesting. Like she comes across as a pro. I understand that maybe
Yeah,
it's a little tough to get used to somebody
she
new.
had the razzmatazz.
Razzmatazz is a good description. She definitely had some razzmatazz. I would
Like,
say her structures were the same as Sven's. It's from pitching corny joke material. I'd say within that structure, she's got a slightly different vibe to it. But hey, that was just a short clip of her being there. So we'll have to see what comes next from Gwen
it
Gooley.
it felt like part Elvira, part Sven. I mean, a lot. I got Elvira vibes, like with a lot of the jokes. You know, she's always done a lot of those, like puns, and I love puns. I love puns. You know, uh,
Campbell was definitely appreciating Gwen Gooley. She was
yeah.
fast talking. She did have a great clip, and she had a
Oh
great flow
yeah.
to her
Well,
game as well.
I know that Sven, one of the things is that he's getting older, but he's also looking to expand. And they've talked about how this whole like, Svana Svengoolie thing is a possible thing to like do more Sven, more, he's looking for other hosts. And that is the mark of a truly great person, somebody who encourages others to succeed, proteges. And he's always done that kind of too. Like if you look at some of the other people who he's raised up around him, you know, um, I look forward to seeing what he's going to do and who he's going to bring in and how far they're going to go. And we might get more kinds of movies, you know, because let's face it, there's a lot of weird stuff out there, not just horror that he could toss at us. Like I liked it when he used to do some of the sci-fi, the weird sci-fi, like the serials. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
the,
across
the
his different eras, right, going back to 1979, you've had
yeah.
kaiju movies, you've had things that were like the predecessor of Mystery Science Theater 3000, whereas you were
Oh
saying
yeah.
not even a B movie, but a Z movie, if you will, that was, you know, again, a
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
for its badness. And as you noted, right, there's the Hammer pocket, there's the Universal pocket, and
And then
there's
you
so
have like
many.
the British ones. I like that fact that he plays a lot of like the weird British ones that people don't see here often, you know? Because England has always had an interesting relationship with America for movies. I mean, we cross pollinate pretty heavily. Cary Grant and Laurel and Hardy and Hitchcock, and England itself has always done a little bit different. Their movies are often a little bit cozier. They often have a slightly, they're a little bit drier. You know what I mean? But you look at like some of the things, it's a slightly different view. And then you look at like an American in an English movie as opposed to an American in an American movie. You know, it gets really interesting. It
It,
does.
it does,
Uh,
and I don't want to go too far afield, but the same interplay between All in the Family, Three's Company, and then more
right.
recently Friends and the Man About the House and coupling. There's always a really interesting back and forth between that side of the ocean and this side of the ocean.
I think so. Yeah, and we just watched. Oh, what is it? A Haunting in Venice, the latest Hercule Poirot movie.
Okay,
Really, really good. Apparently not at all based on any of the books. So like reading the books won't help you with this one. It's only like the only thing it shares in common with Halloween Party, which it's named roughly based on, is that it's roughly based on it. It takes place at Halloween. That's it. But it's really good. I won't give anything away. But there's an American in it, and they talk about how much they like Americans, and apparently that's something that Agatha Christie had. Agatha Christie, because America came in and helped in World War I and World War II, she always had a fondness for Americans, and apparently, like in her mysteries, Americans were often these bold, straightforward characters. And if you look at a lot of British movies, war movies and others, Americans are often like that side character who's like bold and fast talking, and just like we have a stereotype of them, they have a stereotype of us. You know? Yeah.
absolutely. And then other ways that you can see that is again the sci-fi ping pong, if you will, and then
Yeah.
Doctor Who.
Oh
The,
yeah. You know, yeah. My wife watched a lot of Doctor Who, the early stuff. I've watched a lot of it. The Tom Baker and a lot. Um, I watched a lot of British weirdness growing up. MTV late at night playing Monty Python and the Monkeys. Well, the Monkeys is American, but I mean, it was made up, to capitalize on the Beatles. We know that. I mean, uh, yeah. Can't
so
figure out the marketing of what movie.
yeah, gee, could you put the movie we were just speaking of, or the mystery or horror? Was it one of the British made ones, or
I think they're talking about a Haunting in Venice, which it has a lovely feel to it for Halloween for the season. I will say that. It is a mystery. There are elements of horror, but it's not a horror movie. It's honestly, it harkens back a little bit more to your classic suspense. You know, Mystery and horror have always walked hand in hand. A lot of horror movies turn out to be mystery movies. A lot of mystery movies have elements of horror. you know. And if you look, Edgar Allan Poe, father of the modern detective story, you know. I've read some of Arthur Conan Doyle's horror stories. I actually have this old book that has some of his non-Sherlock Holmes stories. And in it, there are some Lovecraftian monsters. There are ghost stories. There are, other types of murders and mysteries and horror. These things, there wasn't as much separation as we like to put. The pulps, all of that. They blurred lines. Jaws is kind of a mystery monster. I would say so. Early on, there's a mystery to try and figure out what's going on. You know, a lot of the times the monster, there's a mystery. There's like, what's killing people? How is it doing it? How do we beat it? There's always that element of the unknown. What are we up against? Where did it come from? How could this be happening?
Right, and things can lean more heavily into certain elements or more heavily into
Right,
the to the other side of the elements, right? Action and adventure and action and
right.
mystery and horror and
Just like sci-fi and fantasy often blur. Very frequently, a lot more than people I think understand. You know, I mean, let's face it, Star Wars, it's a space opera, but it's also a space western, and it has strong fantasy elements to it. You know, I mean, it does. And you look at that, the lines blur in very interesting ways. Which I think Sven kind of notes that too. Like he knows that these things blur. We were part of a book club for a while, and he did a sci-fi fantasy book club, and he talked about sci-fi. And the thing about sci-fi is this: the thing about always remember sci-fi is this: sci-fi is not really about tomorrow; it's about today. It's always about what's going on today as we, because and if you look at like sci-fi from different eras, you can see that like it's really about what's going on right then. The things that we fear, the things that we hope for. Star Trek is what we hope for. Roddenberry wanted a future where we put aside our differences. Yeah, I think that's the thing to go for. I mean, but and he could be a little bit naive, I think, at times because he wanted a world where humans are never fighting humans. Well, I don't know if that's realistic, but I
it's something
admire
to
that he.
aspire to.
But I admire that he aspired to it.
Right, let the guy swing for the fences and let him dream. And clearly, as is still in syndication on MeTV, clearly
Yeah.
Star Trek, the original series and the subsequent ones tend to
Oh
resonate with the
yeah.
fan base. So
And I mean, the original Star Trek um, crossed so many barriers. Color barriers, gender barriers. And it was very bold. I mean, and you know who made that possible, right? Lucille
Desilu
Ball.
Studios.
Yeah, Lucille Ball. You gotta love that. You gotta love how that all entwines. You know, they took a chance. It's weird how that goes. And like without Star Trek, would we have had a Star Wars? Would we have had a Babylon 5? Would we have had, a galaxy? No, I mean, obviously we would have a galaxy, but like all these other things came from that. You know,
And if we would have had them, they might not have come out the exact same way.
probably not. People talk about plagiarism and like, oh, I have to make something completely new. That's not possible. Nobody makes something 100% new. Everything is connected. Is based on something else to some degree. Um, he was Cuban, Hispanic, so I guess she did. Yeah, she did technically.
Yeah,
If you
the
want to put,
Ricky
yeah,
Ricardo on screen Desi Arnaz in real life.
yeah.
So yeah, Lucy was a pioneer, and she maybe gets more recognized for her comedy and less so recognized for her being a pioneer as an executive, as a studio head.
And there
Uh,
were not a lot of female executives at that time. Not a lot, you know. So, I mean, she really, like, she knew she had something and she made the most of it. I love that. Yeah. I was also talking to you earlier, like MeTV, one of the things I like about it, they preserve a lot of that. A lot of the shows, and they don't just preserve it, they know about them. I was telling you that, like, MeTV is one of the few places you can see the Three Stooges shorts because if you look it up, most stations don't have the licensing for that. MeTV is one of the, like, I think two. I think it's only like two, maybe one at this point, stations in the country that have held on to the licensing for that, which
And
is
again,
why they still show them.
talking about the different elements or different shows or things growing up on it, the reruns of the Stooges were absolutely there in that
Yeah.
same era of the late 70s and early
Oh
80s
yeah.
when Sven was just starting out. And it's just great to have all these different pieces of things or
Well,
different exposures to these things
TV
to be
gave
able
them their
to.
resurgence. TV gave them their resurgence. The reruns, the replays. Um, things like the Marx Brothers. The Marx Brothers get played over and over again. Um, so many of these lost gems.
Yeah,
People like Sven kept them alive for us.
in the best of ways. And as we've had a few viewers join us since the start of the show here, I just wanted to retrace that it was through your creativity, through the heroforge.com, where you had put together a 3D rendering of Svengoolie and you've sent the figure to him. So, fingers crossed. There's also a two-dimensional image of what we're looking at now, or two-dimensional option. Hopefully, we'll be able to see that what you created on the show sometime soon. And then you have a great many other Hero Forge creations that you
I
were
might have to do a 2D version for him. If you go back to the Kyber crystal one, by the way, actually.
coming. Yeah, that is something
So,
we didn't speak on yet. The crystals.
so I mentioned I make colors for people. That's one of my color collections. Kyber crystals are the crystals that you use in Star Wars to make lightsabers. And you might not know that, but there's different types and different colors. And so those represent like all of the canon types of crystals and like the colors that go into them so that people can make use of them in theirs, basically. And like I mentioned, I have over 15,000 colors in my library. And as I mentioned, I'm colorblind. I have aphantasia. Working on this has actually directly helped me with my own color vision. Last fall was the first time I ever actually was able to see the gold and the orange and the red in the trees. Like normally I couldn't. I couldn't make them out. So apparently this is actually changing my brain and the way I see things.
Man, that
That's
sounds
something.
more material for a medical journal as opposed to Reddit conversations. But
Yeah.
that is remarkable.
I was going to show you. This is
Here,
there's a
let's
figure I made.
let's
If you look, um, if you do the 2D version, you can have things floating. I'm thinking I might reprint the one I made up for him and have Tombstone floating
That would be great too. That
because
would
you
be
can do
great.
that. And that's that. Yeah, because like as long as it's close enough. I recommend people try it out though because being able to take something from your head and put it out where other people can see it, especially for me because I can't see it even here, you know, it means something, and you connect with other people, on a special level. And like I can't draw. I can't draw to save my life. I've worked on computers literally since grade school in the 80s. Um, graphics programs allow me to do a thing I could never do with my own hands. And so just because you can't draw, don't think that you can't make something amazing. Give it a try, play with it. You might surprise yourself. Sometimes it's about finding the right medium.
You're sounding very reminiscent to the ongoing commentary and ongoing encouragement from our other pal, Casual Crafter, on Casual, who's does a lot of customization on Mego scale figures. And in the
Oh,
tradition, uh, on this channel. You know, we've had Casual Crafter, we've had uh, J Spy with his 3D printer work. We've had
Oh,
Paul from Laser Migo.
oh, look at
We've
that.
had Nicole Hoff with her Barbie photography. So
I'm a shutterbug. I'm an inveterate shutterbug. As my wife says, I take a picture of anything that doesn't run away fast enough. Yeah, yeah, I really do. Um, y- you find that like there is an art form for everybody, often multiple, and you can't always do everything. You can't. Like I tried drawing, I did. Something just doesn't connect for me. I was a theater minor. I could not put makeup on myself because I think it's probably my aphantasia. I look in a mirror and I know what I have to do, but my hand does the opposite. It does what it sees.
there you go.
It won't work. But I make jewelry. I make clothes. I cook. My wife has a lot of food allergies, so I do a lot of specialized cooking and invent my own recipes for her. You know, I do graphics. I've done, I write songs and I've done parodies. I did radio for 14 years online, so I appreciate that. Like Twitch and YouTube and things like this are the successor of that, and I love seeing that. Um, I used to like do interviews myself. I've interviewed They Might Be Giants.
Oh my gosh, that's a great pull.
That was fun. I interviewed a great singer called named S.J. Tucker,
Okay.
who does what's called fairycore. I've actually interviewed her twice, once for her band Tricky Pixie and once on her own. Uh, I also interviewed Gene Ray. Oh boy, he's gone now, but he was the infamous Time Cube guy. Who, so if some of you, if you're internet aficionados, it's one of the more infamous crazy sites on the web that for a long time, Time Cube, where he was like, did you know there are 24, 24 hours in a single day? It's like he was. I did an hour and a half interview with him, and my wife only heard my side, which sounded sane. And there was only one point where I had to mute myself very briefly. And then she didn't understand why at the end of the interview, once he was gone, I broke down and laughed for 10 minutes straight. I had to bring other people on to talk because I could not talk
Wow.
because he was on there telling me things like, "Did you know your father was a fish? Well, the first sperm fish swims upstream," or telling me NASA was out to get him. And internet crackpots. That
Yeah.
was in retrospect, though. I look back at that and I think like I feel a bit bad for him too because the internet also like gave him a place, but like I feel like he should have had somebody talking to him about that. You know,
Probably would have
eh,
been good. Jim
it
Campbell's
probably would
asking
have.
about puzzles. Do you do puzzles? Is it something that your
I like
condition
puzzles.
disallows, or
I'm actually pretty good at puzzles. It's visual. So I'm very visually oriented. Like I can walk in, turn on the TV, and within seconds of something coming on, identify it, even if I've never seen it before, as long as I'm at least vaguely aware of it, its existence. I'm not sure how it works. There's something in the context. There's a file in there. It's like everything is a file. It's there somewhere, but I need the right context. I need the right catalyst, basically. I do Wordle online. Currently, I'm up to like 76 in a row. I've never gotten one wrong. I usually guess them correctly. I've actually done like over 500 correct. It's just I occasionally forget, so I've like broken my streak by like not doing it. You know what I mean? I can do puzzles, but there's things I'm never going to be able to do. I can't look at something somebody drew and like understand that how they did it.
yeah,
It's not there. I can't visualize how people do certain things. You know, I don't get earworms, like I said, and I have some issues with like I'm very out of sight, out of mind. You know, so like I've learned you have to take notes. write things down, or I'm going to forget about it. Yeah. I'm not sure how much of that is aphantasia and how much of that is getting old.
Right. There can be intersections or combinations of
Yeah.
subcategories of
But
process.
like, there are aphantasia people who are like work for Pixar and make amazing things. And then there's people who have it and don't know they have it. I've t- I can count at least 2 dozen people who didn't know they had this until I told them about it. And every one of them, their reaction was the same. Wait a minute. That's real?
That's the
People
thing.
actually see things in their head. That's not a metaphor. Like a lot of them like use those exact words. That's how, like a lot of us, like we watch movies where people are like, seeing things in their head, because like movies love to show stuff like that. And people like me, I think a lot of us thought it was like movie magic. We didn't understand that like they're actually trying to show how people think. And suddenly I started realizing like, oh, oh, that's why people do that. Oh, people recognize me after, when they've seen me after 5 years because they see me in their head. Oh, yeah, there's a whole lot of that where like I'm 47 as of last Friday. Only in the last few years did I realize some of this stuff. Like back in 2016 is when I first learned about it, and the scientists at the time who I learned about it from wanted to talk to me because like they didn't believe I could be an artist and have aphantasia. They didn't think you could have an imagination and have this. I'm like, really? Um, like just last year, I was reading about it and found out that like it also can affect other senses. I didn't know that, and I'm reading. I'm like, oh, some scientists think that if you don't have sound or visual memory, that you don't have memories. That you don't. I'm like, "I- that's not true. I have memories, but like it made me question who I was, what I was, you know, and it makes me look at other people and understand that like they're looking at the world in a whole other way than I am. I do dream in pictures, actually. The part of the brain that controls visualization is different than the part that controls dreams. My dreams are extremely vivid, massively full color. The problem is once I wake up, they start to fade because I don't have the visualization centers to remember them well. So like last night, I had this vivid dream with superheroes, and I only remember it because I talked about it. But it's like superheroes and supervillains and gone to the past and all this stuff, but it fades. I can daydream too, because again, dreaming is a different part of the brain. I didn't understand that there's people who can do that willingly. Like my mother tried to like get me involved, with meditation. What's the first thing they tell you with meditation? Close your eyes and picture yourself on a beach. Well, I thought like, oh, I'm doing this wrong. I'm doing this wrong. I'm not seeing anything. What's wrong with me? Oh, now I know. It's and like hypnosis, same thing. They tell you close your eyes and visualize. I looked it up, by the way. There apparently are ways to hypnotize people with aphantasia, but you got to do it differently because the basic version doesn't work for us. You know, um, it's very different. Like I said, there are upsides. My doctors are shocked at how I turned around my diabetes because I don't get cravings the way normal people do. It took me a while to realize that. Like, all my doctors are so surprised that I'm getting better. Why is that? Oh, oh, okay. Why do
Campbell's
you think
dropping
you?
in our final question of the night. Here's you're about ballpark of the
Ah,
same age.
I can actually answer that.
Please do.
We're not. Every generation is into nostalgia, usually about 40 years ago. If you look, nostalgia usually goes in waves of 40 years. Not that long ago, it was the 70s. There were a lot of movies about the 70s. Currently, it's all about the 80s. You know, now nostalgia in general, like I grew up on a lot of older stuff. So I have nostalgia for older things because like I said, I grew up. I'm the cable generation. So I have two waves of it. I have the '80s, but I also have all the stuff they were playing on cable TV, which is from the '40s and the '30s. The first movie I remember seeing as a child on TV, Charlie Chaplin's The Kid.
Oh man.
Yeah. And like that's a thing that the current generation is not going to have. Everything's more scattered. You know, um, current generation. Well, I think it's also partly that we can do that now. People have realized there's money in bringing dreams to life. There's money. It's like, hey, people like this. If I make this, people will like it. And because we do have that mass media, because I'm also a child of the internet. I got onto the internet when AOL started. I've watched it grow. When I was doing radio 14 years, I watched every little weird meme, every little weird thing that popped up. My listeners would bring me, "Hey, do you know about this? Hey, do you know about that? Hey, do you know about what the heck is that?" Constantly. And people bounce around and they make connections, and the world gets smaller and smaller and smaller. But there's still wonders. There's still dreams. You can still fool people. I used to do April Fool's things every year. One year, I asked my listeners to find me a cover of "You Shook Me All Night Long" by Mae West. Does not exist. I did not know at the time that she died the year that song came out.
Oh wow.
I When somebody told me that, I'm like, yes, that was the last thing she did, and they bought that.
Man. Well, on that intricate note of an intersection between different things of different eras of Mae West and Shook Me All Night Long. Again, Dave, also known as Win, David, also known as Win, also known as Winton. I'm glad we came across each other in the Svengoolie Reddit.
I'm
And
gonna have to watch more of your things, and I appreciate what you do here because bringing people together. I think it's what Sven would like.
I
I think it's what he does. I think it's what he lives for. You know.
if Sven ever happens to check us out, that would be a great feather in the cap. And again, hopefully your Hero Forge creation will make it to the show. I will no doubt see you around in the Reddit verse
Oh,
again. And I
I
encourage
will give you a
people
lot. I will give you one last anecdote that's Sven
go
related.
go go.
Not long ago, I found out that the Illinois declared I think it was the black walnut its state nut. And on Twitter, I asked Ven if he was going to stand for that, and he responded. He did respond and noted that maybe there were some better options out there. But
That's
he did
great that you
that.
would interact.
But
Oh,
his friend,
Crafter. All
right?
right, Crafter, thanks for being around. Clearly, we gave you a shout out, Crafter, as well as Paul and Laser Migo and good old J Spy, and just adding to our list of creative people, including Nicole. Thanks everybody for
Thank you.
watching, and this one will close us out. Have a good night, everybody, and we'll see you around next show, and we'll see you around in the Svenverse. Thanks a
And
lot.
watch out for chickens.
Watch the flying chicken.